Okay. Welcome, everyone. This is Chip Littlejohn in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, welcoming you to the very first gathering and presentation of the Avini Scientific Advisory Report. And we've named this call because Valerie Johnson was on a call earlier with me, and I asked them what they thought about it. And she said, you know, these kinds of calls are always for the newest person. Who's the most important person with us tonight? It's the brand new person who maybe knows that there's something here and they're trying to see if it's real. They're looking for that moment where they say, that's me, I can do that. You know, that fits. And so that's what we're looking for. And she said, what that takes is the big vision. You have to be able to see what this thing is about, what's different about it. So kind of a common denominator, a bottom line between all the people here is that we're fascinated with living things. And we're also fascinated with what makes us more alive. And I'm sure you're going to get that, you know, as we introduce you to our two scientists. Probably the most important distinctive feature about Avini as a company is the structure of it. Sitting on top of the entire thing are the two scientists that you're about to meet. I've asked them, they've never seen a structure like that before. They've always had some sort of a bureaucracy or an umbrella over them that was muting some of their ideas. And so that's not the case here. So interestingly enough, in support of them are two executives. And one of the key people in our lives right now, everybody here, is Neil Roth. And some people would say he's the CEO of Avini. And I was thinking this morning, I said, you know, I need to make a distinction about that. You know, yeah, kind of CEO, but I've started calling him the HFF. So what is that? If you've interacted with Neil, I bet you feel like he is your highly functional friend. And that's the top executive position in Avini, HFF, the highly functional friend. And so then his executive co-partner that really is never going to short you on effort is Doug Dickey. And so Doug came really to help carry some of the weight so that Neil didn't have to do it all, setting the company up. And he becomes the ambassador to the field from the executive side. I am the ambassador to the field from the field side. So that's the structure of the company, okay? So everybody has a picture of what's here, what's different. I just want to say that by the end of this call, if you are that newest person that's with us tonight, and you hear what you're about to hear, I believe that if tomorrow morning you were appointed not just the Surgeon General of yourself, of your family, of your community, maybe your state, maybe your nation, but you were appointed, the newest person tonight, the Surgeon General of the world. And all you did was bring the first 4 products to the people of the world that we have at Avini. You would be the best Surgeon General of the world that there ever was. Why? Because of the benefits of the products. I believe that the pressure on the healthcare system would drop precipitously in a very short time. I believe that the productivity of the people would raise by that same margin in a very short time. And I think that human interaction would become more friendly and that we would indeed have everybody at their highest level of function, and we'd be able to reach to the stars, reach for a bigger sky, not just a bigger piece of the pie, not a bigger pie, but a bigger sky. So that is the big vision for our call tonight. With that, I would like to introduce to you guys the two scientists that are leading Avini. This is Rik Deitsch, our biochemist, and Dr. Gary Samuelson, our medical atomic physicist. Gentlemen, would you please take the floor?
It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you. You can't just say gentlemen, you have to say one of us.
Yeah, that's right.
I like to see you duke it out. I think the people would enjoy seeing you work with each other. It's a fascination.
Oh. But It's wonderful to be here. Like Chip said, very seldom do we actually see an organization where we can make significant change and difference in people's lives, and we actually have the knowledge and ability to do so. From our backgrounds, and we have a little bit of the now responsibility, I suppose, to get out very significant things to all of you. How do you feel about that, Rik?
Well, I've been in drug discovery and product development for 25 years, over 25 years. And I got to tell you, we had a process. I worked at Rexall Sundown. We were the largest manufacturer of dietary supplements on the planet. And when I made a product, I got to tell you, I would come up with a great idea for a product. And then everyone would tell me why. Yeah, I either couldn't do it because of marketing, and it wasn't a product that we could market, or I had to dummy down the product because of the cost. So as Chip just said, there were all these levels of people above me, and we had to jump through the hoops and make the products that we could afford to make, or the products that marketing wanted. And I can tell you all sorts of war stories about how I snuck some products through that were passion projects of mine. And some of those projects, there was one product, it was really very silly. It was easy. It was a product that had 12 fruits and 12 vegetables. None of us eat enough fruits and vegetables. So I wanted to launch that product when I was at Rexall, and marketing didn't want it. They thought it was kind of too simplistic. So I snuck it by them. I got on a list of products to launch. I had ordered a bunch of it on basically my own dime. And within 2 months, it was our number 2 selling product in the company. So, but that's the sort of stuff I had to do. So it's thrilling to not have all these levels above us where we can make the absolute best products that we have the ability to make and be able to bring that to the distributor force. And it's thrilling for me to actually be able to talk directly to the end users and consumers and the distributor force as far as salespeople to let them know how great these products are. And Chip's right. There's not a product line on the face of the earth that's like what we have. Everyone, I started looking at some catalogs earlier this week for physicians that had a bunch of private label stuff. It always starts with the general multivitamins, multiminerals, protein products, probiotics. And there's so much genera, everything's so generic. Nobody has the kind of offerings that we have at Avini on day one, and it's just going to get better.
I think, we coming from the academic side, you never are an owner of your own technology, it seems, if you're working for an institution, the institution owns you, and they own all of the intellectual property that you're able to produce and everything that you're able to do. I think there's only one in the United States that actually allows their scientists to become involved, and that's MIT. Is that in MIT, you're able to take whatever you develop and also use that and commercialize it for the benefit of people. That's a winning system. It's a winning system as far as I'm concerned, because you actually capture the heart of the person who's creating those technologies. I think that's wonderful. Would you rather have the heart of Michelangelo, or would you rather have some of his artistic works? And that's it's kind of interesting because we are human beings, and we have our own quirks and our own personalities. But when we see these opportunities for synergy to work together for the best, and we can, that's where it really is. I think that's where the system starts to really work for us.
Well, let's go back to
Samuelson. What I was just going to say, Dr. Samuelson, while you have the floor, would you please say something about the history and the inspiration of why you became an atomic physicist and then a medical one? And then would you turn that over to Rik about the inspiration of why he became a biochemist? I'd really like people to know where you come from and who you are. Some story about that, please.
Oh, great. Well, my dad is a physicist. And as a small boy, I loved truth. And so I was a very strange little kid. Instead of playing with the rest of the kids, I'd go out and I'd look at a plant that was growing someplace and say, well, I wonder how that works. And, I'd cut a little leaf off of it and watch the leaf grow back over time. I say, that is just absolutely incredible. I'd like to understand that. So I'd go to my dad and I'd ask him questions, and I never get an answer I could quite understand. But, the thing was, that I love truth. And I almost had a love for truth. I had to, almost more than breathing at times, I needed to know how things work. And so I figured, well, if I were able to understand just what is happening inside atoms, then I'd be able to understand everything. I'd be able to put everything together. And there's only 6 atoms that are very active in biology, and there's only tens of atoms that are really involved in these things, and then some rare ones. But the thing is that I became an atomic physicist because of that interest, and learned quantum theory and learned the field theories that allowed me to understand how these things work together and how they fit together. And then I went through did my PhD work. I wanted to mention one thing, maybe which the motivation, I guess, for everything that I've done since then. I ran out of money, and some equipment broke down that I needed. It was an RF generator. It was worth $100,000 for an MRI device. And as an atomic physicist, you look at atoms using what they call NMR, nuclear magnetic resonance, and that was my specialty. And I wasn't able to do that or finish my thesis work, and my dissertation was on hold, and it would have cost me so much money. And I had to ask myself, well, why in the world am I doing this? I had 5 children. I was in financial ruin. I was in the laboratory day and night. I had to do that because when we had liquid helium there, we had to be there all day, all night. And it occurred to me that my knowledge, the things that I'm learning and gaining, has absolutely no benefit except for the people that can benefit from them, including my family. How could I go back to my wife and say, honey, I've decided to quit? How could I go back to the people that, that had helped me and now so at that point, I dedicated myself and all the knowledge and all the understanding that I had for the benefit of people. And from that point, technology started to come to me all over the world. People would start sharing technologies with me. After I graduated, I worked I had a little bit of a postdoc in Harvard, and I decided to go into nanotechnology. Came back and worked in the nanotechnology field. We were building nanoparticles that could do all sorts of things, and we used high-powered lasers. I knew how to build lasers. We did all of that. We built nanoparticles that then could attach to viruses and could attach to parasites and could. We were after infectious problems, and so that was really interesting to me, that we could use these tiny little nanoparticles and interact with biological molecules. And if we use natural type of things, we could do wonders. And so that came along, and then cell signaling processes came along also that helped me to understand how cells regenerate and detect and repair and replace themselves when they become damaged. Just absolutely things. And the key thing is that now finally I understood the rules or the physical laws of healing. What do we need in order to be able to run a cell? Well, first of all, we need to take out the toxins. We need to take out the things that interfere. It's almost like running a good car engine. And then we need to put in the things that are necessary for that cell to live and thrive. And if we do so, that cell works and heals itself, and it works beautifully. And so that's what motivated me with that passion. And then to be able to, now Rik can say this too, there's nothing better than people walking up to you. And you've been working on things for years. And they walk up to you and say, you changed my life. Yeah. I probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And you don't hear that just once. You hear that over over and over again. Can't be anything greater than that. And so, I was hooked. I loved the people. I loved what we were doing. And so we're continuing. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead. Rik, what's your story?
Yeah, we knew this was going to happen. I had several reasons for being a biochemist, but I'll start with the first, my formative years. So it was 1973. I was 6 years old. My father had Hodgkin's disease, and he was in a clinical study in Temple University in Philadelphia. And I'm the youngest of five. Well, I have a twin brother. So me and my twin brother are the youngest of five kids. And my mother, so what was my mother at the time? She was 29, 30 years old, and she had five kids, and she's dragging them behind her, going to the hospital to see my father, who was being treated. He was in a clinical study for treating Hodgkin's disease. And I just remember being 6 years old and seeing how upset my mother was. And she would talk to the doctors, and the doctors would be very dismissive and just never really answer her question. Every time she talked to a doctor, she would sit down and cry. And one day, I can remember like it just happened. We're sitting on this long bench in this waiting area in the hospital. And this doctor that just really upset my mother, and I wanted to just go over and kick him in the shin. He's standing there, and two guys come up that look like hippies. They had long hair, they had white lab coats, they're carrying clipboards. They start yelling at the doctor, and they're pointing at the clipboards. And then one guy's even poking the doctor in the shoulder. And my mother asked the nurse, who are those guys? And they said, well, they're the biochemists that developed the drug protocol that your husband is on. So my mother walked up to them and started asking them questions, and they were awesome. They sat down with us. They explained how the drugs worked that my dad was taking, how well he was doing on the protocol, one of the best in the protocol, answered all of our questions. And I'm like, that's awesome. These guys know what they're talking about. They make themselves understood, and they were bossing the doctor around. I thought that was awesome. So right there, I said, I'd rather be a biochemist than the doctor. Okay. And then another reason, this is a little silly, but I don't know how many of you are comic book fans, but I was a huge comic book fan as a kid. I read every comic book. I was more of a Marvel than a DC. But if you know the heroes, especially in Marvel comics, a lot of the heroes were biochemists that had accidents in their labs and became superheroes. So the back of my head, that was part of it. At some point, I was going to have an accident in my lab and be a superhero. I even wrote a paper in high school about a beneficial mutation, about the concept that 1 in 100,000 cell divisions will cause a mutation. It could be cancerous, it could be non-cancerous. But I said, what are the odds that a mutation would be such during a person's lifetime, not passed on, not through natural selection, but during a person's lifetime, a mutation that would actually give them some sort of power? And I wasn't talking about flying or anything. I was talking about being stronger, being faster, being able to heal faster, something like that. And I actually did the math, and I figured out, that there should be about 1 in a million per 5 years. So at the time, that meant that there must be at least 75 people on Earth that had superpowers in some way. So that was me in high school, geeking out on the math, trying to be a biochemist. And then when I got into college, my college didn't offer a degree in biochemistry when I first started. They offered a degree in chemistry with an emphasis in biochemistry. But everyone's trying to talk me into being a chemist. And if you know chemistry, there are literally millions of chemical reactions, millions of reactants and products and things like that. But in biochemistry, the chemistry of living things, I'm going to tell you this, you're not going to believe it. There's only 8 reactions. Only 8 reactions that occur over and over and over again that do everything you need to do in your body. If you think of amidation, deamidation, phosphorylation, dephosphorylation, methylation, demethylation, there's 8 reactions. So it's kind of like chemistry light, if you really think about it, even though it leads to all these other things. And when I taught biochemistry, I told people that, they said, no, really? So if you simplify it, biochemistry can be pretty easy, but it does lead to every possible thing that has to do with life on this planet. So when I was in college, I did my master's degree. My master's was actually in biochemistry. My bachelor's degree is in chemistry and chemical engineering. But I was working on my PhD, And first of all, in graduate school, I mostly worked with cone snail venom. And I've talked about this before. They're venomous snails in the ocean. They sit in the bottom of the ocean. They stick out their tongue. And when a fish comes close, thinking it's a worm, the cone snail stabs a fish, injects a paralytic venom, and pulls it in and eats it. So we would study the venom from cone snails. And actually, the very first drug I ever worked on was from the venom of a cone snail. It was called SNX-111 when I worked on it. It eventually became the drug Prialt, Prialt. And it's a drug for intractable pain. It was launched by Elan Pharmaceuticals, which is now part of, I believe it's part of Biogen now. That was the very first drug I ever worked on. And so I worked with venomous animals, and that eventually led to my passion for other venomous animals. And I work with cobra venom now. And I'll say it's a lot easier to milk a snake than a snail. It's very, very, very hard to milk a snail. You only get a couple of drops of venom. I milk a cobra, I get 400 milligrams of venom. So you get a lot of venom from a cobra, and that goes in all the drugs that we make today. But in graduate school, I started working at the Duke University Comprehensive Cancer Center with Gertrude Elion, who was a Nobel laureate. Wonderful woman, never actually earned a PhD, had tons of honorary PhDs, but she invented almost every anti-rejection medication known to man. And she was absolutely brilliant. She was in her 80s when I worked with her, and she still spent 10 hours a day in the lab. But we worked with camptothecin analogs. There were drugs for treating cancer. That lab came up with 2 drugs on the market today, irinotecan and topotecan, and another drug, 5-hydroxy-7-methoxycamptothecin, which is still out there, but hasn't been marketed yet. So that was the cancer research I did. But the problem was I got married, and my wife wanted me to make money, and you don't make money in school. So I started my own consulting business doing computer adaptive drug design. That led to my first part-time job at Rexall Sundown, and I got hired as a medical specialist, a technical specialist, and medical writer. That was my first part-time job at Rexall. Within a year and a half, I was vice president of product development in a $1 billion company. So I had the only thing I can say, a meteoric rise at Rexall. And the one thing I really learned at Rexall, though, is I love talking to people. I loved making a product and then being able to get on stage in front of people and tell them about the product. That was amazing. You know, normally you don't get that opportunity. When I was working on drugs and medical devices and things like that, I didn't get to talk to the end users and explain how they work or talk to patients that benefited. That's amazing. And just like Dr. Samuelson said, there is nothing like someone coming up to you and telling you their personal story of how something I did changed their lives. And listen, most of the stories are the ones, and Chip will tell you this, most of the stories are the ones you're never going to hear. The people that didn't get sick, the people that didn't die, you know, because they use these products prophylactically, they use them for prevention. But I love the stories about how lives have changed, and we hear it every single day. And that's what I love about what I do now.
One of the favorite things that I've ever seen was when you two guys challenge each other. And I'd like to take just a little visit back to maybe your introduction to each other not too long ago, when Dr. Samuelson said, zeolite, there's problems with zeolite. And you might expand on those and then try to get him to sell you on zeolite. And then, Rik, I'd ask you to go right back and slap him with all your concerns about silver. So yep. Why don't you start and work him over on the zeolite thing a little bit and see if he can measure up to the question, Dr. Samuelson.
Well, I mean, everybody really knows the benefits of zeolite that deal with this fascinating little mineral, you know, that captures everything and exchanges ions, especially the heavy metals. In fact, my thought was, well, zeolite's probably responsible for sucking all of these lead, arsenic, you know, molybdenum, all these heavy metals out of our environment, so that we don't have them. And that's the problem. You know, nobody even cares to clean them, and they attract everything. And so the question is, you know, well, okay, they probably won't let go of the contaminants they have, especially, you know, the highly charged anions. But they may let go of some of these carbon compounds that are loosely bound to them. And they may let go of other stuff that it has been accumulating for many years on these zeolites. And so, you know, when I would hear about zeolites, I'd get excited because I thought, well, internal workings of the intestines and stuff like that, maybe they can handle it pretty well. And it can pull the toxins out of the intestines and get them from the intestine into the waste. But, when I heard that Rik, that was working on it, and I heard him as Mr. Zeolite. And he said, well, I have to admit, I've never really used zeolites, even with people that needed them a great deal, because I was concerned about the toxic nature of them being dirty and, possibly toxic. And so, Rik, you got the advantage though, because Doug came into my house. He's a good friend of mine, and he handed me this bottle of this beautifully clear snow white zeolite. I said, oh, wow, maybe somebody's actually done it. And he said, well, maybe Rik Deitsch would talk to you. And I said, oh, sure, put him on. And so we talked for several minutes, about the zeolite. And I realized that he had done it. So, I don't know if that is really hitting you with a whopper.
So we'll talk about that conversation, because it took me 5 years from when I first decided I want to work on zeolite to get my first product right. Because I knew there were problems with it. And I'd first been approached by another company that was actually making a zeolite product. They were out of Germany. They called their product Megamins, and it was just powder zeolite in a capsule with some vitamin C and other things. And I had the exact same concerns that Gary had. I knew zeolites were molecular sieves. I knew they liked a lot of heavy metals and volatile organic compounds. I knew there were different types of zeolites. And if they weren't careful in picking the right type, different types of zeolites can be less healthy for you or even dangerous. So they wanted me to come on board and really just help promote their product. And I didn't like their product. And I got to the point where it was like butting heads with them, even as a consultant, where I even flew to Germany a couple of times to meet with these guys. They just didn't listen to me. I was trying to tell them what was wrong and how to fix it. And it was really my wife. She goes, just fix it yourself. So I actually made my first zeolite in my house. In fact, I ruined a couple of pots and pans. I had my home office at the time, not where I am now, but my old house in Coral Springs. I had 30, 40, 50 bottles of different sizes of zeolite suspensions. And I was timing how long it took to fall out of solution and if it would stay in solution. And I monitored contaminants and all of them. And this was a 5-year passion project for me, trying to see what I could do, because the major issues are exactly like you said. First of all, micronization. How do you get this powder into the bloodstream? You have to make it small enough. And then activation, you need to clean it out to make it active and remove anything that could be potentially dangerous. I mean, like you said, the really high affinity heavy metals are not going to let go, but volatile organic compounds let go, and some of the lighter metals let go. And so it was a labor of love to get through it. And so I launched that first product in 2004, and it's just gotten better and better and better. And it's partially just my learning curve as we do clinical research and publish, but it's also the fact that the equipment's gotten better. So we have more access to equipment that allows us to do what we do. And I got to tell you, the stuff I'm making now, the Cell Defender, is the best stuff I've ever made. It's absolutely fabulous, but it's based on all the research that's come before it. And I will say just really quickly, because Chip mentioned this earlier, there's like so many competitive products out there, and there weren't. When I launched Cell Defender, when I launched my initial zeolite product with another company in 2004, there was no competition. I was a category creator, and we were so successful at getting the word out, and some of you were there, that instead of people coming to me and saying, well, how do you do it? Let's work together. They said, well, I cannot do that too. And I can make a competitive product. And they were all terrible. And my favorite story is the very first competitor we ever had was a company called Denali. It was a network marketing company. And they launched a product called Denali Tox. And everyone came to me, Rik, you got to analyze this product. You got to tell us why yours is better. And I'm a true believer in the fact that you don't have to swing at every pitch. There's going to be people that come along, low-level competitors, that the second you acknowledge them, you're giving them credence. It's better not to even acknowledge them. So I saw this product. I didn't think it was anything special, and I kind of ignored it. And I was right to do so, because the first thing is when you took it, it turned your teeth green, which I thought was a negative. And then within 2 weeks, 5 people wound up in the hospital with aflatoxicosis, liver failure from the product. So At that time, the product was pulled off the market. The president of the company was fired. And I don't even think that company is in existence anymore. But they just didn't know what they were doing. They were trying to make my zeolite and they couldn't. And no one's been able to do it yet. I have looked at pretty much every competitive product in the market, and nobody knows how to do what I do to make this product so accessible, so absorbable, and so clean to be to have so much cationic exchange capacity in the body. So yeah, I did everything right to try to get the zeolite to where it is today to be the amazing product it is. But then I hear Dr. Samuelson working with silver, and I've never liked silver because silver has such a checkered past, and I'll explain why. See, the first silver used medically was actually used in rheumatoid arthritis patients in the 40s and 50s because they found that when rheumatoid arthritis patients got silver, they felt better. Well, rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease, and ionic silver can be immunosuppressive. It can actually suppress immune system function. So that might be good for someone with an autoimmune disease that has a hyperimmune response, but it's not good for the average healthy individual. So I was always this guy that says topical silver is fine. It'll kill bacteria, it'll kill viruses. It's great for warts. It's great for like molluscum and stuff. Fabulous for molluscum. If you ever have a kid with molluscum, you put a little silver on, it's gone in like 2 minutes. It's like incredibly fast. So I was always happy about topical silver. I said, don't put it in your body. Silver is dangerous. Okay. And then Dr. Samuelson schooled me on the difference between ionic silver and nanostructured silver and how they actually work. So I'm going to turn it back to you, Dr. Samuelson, and tell them how you schooled me.
Yeah, I think you kind of schooled yourself because I recall that you really read up on it in order to be able to understand, the benefits. But yeah, ionic silver, like you had mentioned, really can be a little bit dangerous. And not only that, but it turns into insoluble salts when it gets into your blood, silver chloride, and kind of stays around for a little while. And because of that, nature has found a way, nature finds a way, to be able to create nanoparticles. So they have little molecules inside of like the aloe vera plants and such that actually put together these little nanoparticles so that they can carry them around and use them for beneficial reasons, inside the aloe vera. And not only that, we're finding almost every plant that exists out there has some way of reducing these little silver nanoparticles. And when they are in this nanoparticle form, they can directly interact with molecules. And they are very, very inert in sense of, getting in the way of things. They just kind of bounce around and then they're flushed out of the body. If they're the right shape and size. If they're the wrong size, then they can get stuck in things. They have affinities towards certain surfaces and they'll get stuck or they can't move through. And they get stuck. But you have to realize that these things are absolutely minuscule, in comparison to cells, even comparison to the viruses, if you get the right size and shape. And so here is what I found. You can have all of the benefits of the I don't want to say, I'm having trouble with this. The antimicrobial qualities of silver, as we can see them, as they do exist, have all of the benefits of that and none of the adverse events.
Right.
And that's really what is the great thing about. But the nice thing is that also, you can use these things almost universally. In my house, for example, I'd spray them on, there's some black mold that was building up along my pipes. I sprayed them and the black mold just kind of sheeted off. It sheeted off the walls even, and even out in the wood, and didn't bother me for the rest of the time that I owned the house. The properties that we saw in studies, in many studies. In fact, the thing that actually turned me on to nanosilver was a study that was run in Africa. And we saw whole communities of people with very serious difficulties completely pull out of these problems. And I say, well, my goodness, you know, if there's anything that could be beneficial, I wanted to go to Africa. I wanted to run the studies. I wanted to do these things. My wife said, no, you can't. And so I found that silver can be probably one of the most beneficial agents on the planet that are for bioprotective reasons. They help to protect you against harmful bioactive agents. And there's really not too much of anything else that is that effective.
So with that, I got you two to duke it out a little bit. And I have to say that's some of the most fun I've ever had is when they disagree on something. And, you know, all of us need to meet someone who doesn't think that our idea is the best. And so then you just saw these guys, the process of selling each other on their ideas. And you begin to see the distinctions and why it's so important and how somebody did solve the problems that limited that idea. So from there, I want to make peace again and go back to the big vision thing. And what I'd like to ask you guys, and probably the most important question that I have for you tonight is, why are the people on this call important to you? Why network marketing? Where are you taking us? I'll ask Dr. Samuelson first and then pass it over to Rik.
Okay, well, I have to admit that I really kind of hate network marketing. I never really liked it. You know, all of my experiences with network marketing were, well, you can sell air, you know, yet rah, let's go out and get ourselves a car or a house or a pool or whatever, you know. And it was not centered on what I thought could be the thing. Well, no, I developed some technologies or helped to develop and stabilize some molecular agents that were used in cellular signaling. And they were incredible. You know, Rik, when you were talking about, you know, comic books, like when Wolverine is able to heal almost instantaneously, you know, you say, well, isn't there something out there that can actually do that? You know, they spray it on and it heals almost. Well, we found some stuff. It's some redox compound that would actually stimulate the healing and speed it up, you know, several factors. And we thought, well, that is really cool. But, you know, we needed to get it out to the people that are of need of it, who need it. How do we get these beneficial technologies out to the people who need it? And the person that was there said, well, we do it through the pharmaceutical companies. It's kind of a touchy story, so I'll only tell just a little bit of it. But, well, the pharmaceutical industry was interested in it. They came out in their private jets. We sat around the table. And soon it became very evident that they wanted complete control over everything, even though they were willing to give us the money for clinical research and such. And not only that, that the people had almost zero importance in the equation. It was almost all profits, whether they could patent it, whether they could profit from it, et cetera. And it made me sick. In fact, all of us there were saying, well, we're not that type of people. And so he said, well, what other way can we use to get it out? And he said, well, we can use network marketing. And I said, no, never. You know, I did not want to go into a network marketing thing. That would be the end of my career. You know, but I couldn't step away from this technology. It was too young at that time. And so this is what happened. The fellow there said, look, the only way that we're going to get beneficial technologies out to the people who really need them is by word of mouth. Somebody takes it, somebody has a benefit, and then they let other people know what the benefits are. Otherwise, these things will just sit on a shelf, and without years of time and advertising, you know, that nobody will ever purchase them. And so he convinced me that this is it. So I said, okay, well, reluctantly, I'll explain what the science is all about. So I went on stage, I explained what the science is about. Then I started to get these experiences that I was telling you about, where people would come up to me and almost say, in tears, and things that I had never even dreamed of seeing were happening right in front of my eyes. And I was just taken away, not by that though, but by the fact that the people that were involved in this industry were real people who wanted real benefits and really wanted to help others. And I fell in love with those people. I said, well, this is the way that we can get our products out to people. This is the way we can get the technologies out. Person to person, eye to eye, heart to heart sort of thing. And so, that was the thing that kind of turned me around to network marketing. So if you can get the right people and the right reason and the right vision, this can be the greatest vehicle for getting the things out to people that are the most benefit. And so it turned me around. There's still all of the problems with network marketing. And of course, people will run away with the profit motives and such like that, but it is very powerful. So yeah, thanks.
So we had a very different upbringing in network marketing. I was very fortunate because my first experience in network marketing was Rexall Showcase. And if anyone remembers Rexall Showcase in the 90s, we were a really high-end network marketing company. It was $4,000 to join. It was like buying a franchise. And over 40% of our distributors were medical professionals, doctors, nurses, dietitians, chiropractors. We just attracted medical professionals because our products were so high-end. And I was product development for Rexall Showcase. And we had amazing products that were life-changing. I had a budget to do clinical research. We were a multi-billion-dollar company. So it was a real playground for me. I got to do, and of course, when you're like the biggest company, we would go to shows and, oh, there's Rik from Rexall, and everybody wanted to know me and come to me and pitch me ideas. And, so it was a lot of fun. And I went from the lab and from theoretical, and it was just one of the conferences. They had me on stage explaining one of the products, and that was it. It's like a switch flipped. They wanted me out on the road. And then for a few years, I was traveling 15, 20 days a month. There were people that thought my wife wasn't married. They thought she made me up because I was traveling so much, but I was all over the world. We had offices in Hong Kong and all over Australia, all over Japan, in China and Europe, all through the United States and Canada, and Venezuela. So they sent me everywhere to basically talk about the products. And it was thrilling for me to be able to have, instead of having a shelf behind a product, sitting on a shelf in a pharmacy, you had a person behind the product telling you how great it was. And I was training those people to tell everyone else how great these products were. And I got to tell you, it's absolutely true. If you look, especially in the dietary supplement industry, if you look at the last 20, 30, 40 years, almost every new thing in dietary supplements started in network marketing, person to person. You look at Hawthorne, you look at taurine, you look at acai, you look at noni juice, you look at, just one thing, Sam E, all these ingredients, melatonin, all these started in network marketing where they got a following and an upswelling and brand recognition, and eventually went retail, went mainstream. So in my opinion, if you wanted something cutting edge, something new, something different, it had to be in network marketing. It absolutely had to be. Now, Dr. Samuelson's right. There's a lot of junk out there. I found so many companies that just thought they could sell anything. They put something on a piece of paper and they sell it as magic. It's whatever. It's fairy dust. And so there were a lot of bad companies out there, but they tend not to stay around for too long. But that's where the bad reputation comes from. So what's network marketing? That's where you go broke and lose all your friends. But the fact is, if you have the right experience with the right products and the right company, it can be amazing. And some of the people here have been with me in other deals. And I got to tell you, the problem was never the products. In many cases, it wasn't the business itself. It was almost always the management. So I could tell you, I'm still friends with distributors from Rexall and from Wayor and from Unicity. In fact, many of us, we're like a family. We all helped each other. We helped each other through the good times, the bad times, with health issues, using our products, using other products. And so it's always heartbreaking when things kind of fall apart. And like I said, it's almost always because of management. So we have a really unique position here where the management are the product developers. You know, I don't think this has ever happened before, where guys have been in the business, that understand the business, understand the products, are the ones that are actually making the decisions. So I think we're uniquely positioned to really survive the long haul, to have the best products at hopefully competitive prices, but we'll talk about that, because if the product's really good, it's going to be expensive, but also have an opportunity where you guys can make some money. And I'll go back to that, just one more thing, because we talk about the love of network marketing. You can look at any product, and I know guys that talk about Duracell batteries, and they were paying Michael Jordan $100 million a year to tell you to use Duracell batteries. Why? Why do you need him to tell you to use a battery? What does he know about batteries? I bet he doesn't even know how a battery works. But they pay him $100 million to tell you to use Duracell batteries. I'd rather pay $100 million to the people that are introducing those batteries to their friends. And that's all network marketing is. Use a product you like, you tell friends about it, they use it, and everybody gets paid. And that's where the marketing dollars go. So I see nothing wrong with network marketing as a method of distribution. And I totally understand that that's where the new stuff goes. And I'm glad to be here. Thanks, Chip.
Well, yeah, thank you guys. And I have to ask one more question. I've used up all the time I intended to, but you guys have to talk real fast on this one, because I know Neil's going to have his hand over the kill switch. Where are you taking us? What's new? What's coming? Can you give us a little hint? If you have to, just say, yes, there's great stuff coming. Could I ask each of you, is there anything to be excited about that we do not know about yet?
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Are you kidding? You know, you're giving the people, you're giving us, you know, the opportunity just to open up the tool chest and pull out all the tools and make whatever we want. And this is what we'd love to do. And it's also, you know, giving the opportunity to, you know, going back to the comics, you know, to save the world, you know, to be the guy that can help in their way, in whatever way we possibly can, with the knowledge that we have, to get these things out there, you know, and we know how to use those tools. And so that is really cool. You know, you'd have to be crazy not to think that when you give Michelangelo a chisel and a hammer, he's not going to use it. so we yes, you know, ideas are coming to me, and I know Rik. Yeah, I mean, he's very verbal about this. Ideas are coming to me every day on how we can get these new technologies emerging to the people. And this is yeah, of course. So I guess that's my long-winded yes for you.
I loved it. Rik, could you please say something without saying anything?
Yeah, I mean, Chip, you've been in my office. I've got filing cabinets full of new product ideas. You know, stuff that has been used and tested and tried, and concepts and formulations. And, you know, obviously, one of the problems we had in the Rexall days is we had 200 products, 300 products. It was way too complicated. I think a good mature company has probably less than 20 products. And so that's what we're going to talk about. What comes next? And you know that I'm a big proponent of fiber. I think we need a fiber product. I like adaptogens. I think we should have a nice, maybe energy nootropic adaptogenic product. Also, I have some really high-end personal care products utilizing zeolite. So we're talking about potentially a zeolite shampoo, a zeolite toothpaste, a zeolite body scrub, where we don't micronize the zeolite fine, we still activate it, and it becomes almost an exfoliant for your face and your scalp. And we actually have studies with the Nova Southeastern School of Dentistry using the zeolite orally as to clean out the mouth, but also to whiten teeth. So there's all sorts of stuff we're working on. I'm not going to make any promise about what comes out next, because I want you to focus on what we have. We have an incredible product line. We probably have the strongest product line of any MLM launch I've ever seen. You know, because we have products that are already tried and true and tested. We launched a zeolite product. that already, in the past has sold 6 million units before you guys launched it. So we know it's a successful product. The Z-Immunity had a predicate product that sold millions of units. The Nano Silver is the best nanostructured silver on the market, and that has predicate products that sold millions of units. So we know that we have a successful product line. And I never thought you guys would really be that interested in analgesics and inflammation, pain and inflammation, until Darren's story, and then everyone got all excited about Cobra Venom. And that's awesome. I want to teach everybody that Cobra Venom is not to be feared, that it's something that we can actually utilize to benefit our health and be anti-inflammatory and analgesic and all other things that we can use it for in the future. So there's a lot that we're working on. I think probably for the future of the company, we expect to have a few conferences a year and launch 1 or 2 products at each conference. So that's kind of a slow roll as to new product launches, because I never want people to say, I'm going to wait till that next product launch to do something. I'm telling you that we have an incredible product line that needs to be shared today.
I'm getting, by the way, I'm getting Rik to focus, and everybody actually to focus on the things that are life-changing and that are needed. So the anti-inflammatory stuff is at the center of health. You are able to get rid of inflammation and the things that cause it, like toxins and such. And that really makes a difference in people's lives. So we're gonna, we will, I'm sure there'll be toothpaste and other types of things that come along that are fun. But the real major technologies are those ones that will benefit the lives of millions, if not billions of people.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you put that in, because probably one of the most impactful moments in Avini so far was when we all got together and we were brainstorming product ideas and what comes out, what comes first. And Dr. Samuelson simply said, let's do the life-saving stuff first.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, that's a pretty big picture story, a pretty big picture statement, isn't it? Okay, so my safety valve to get out of the call is you can see both of these gentlemen live in our very first Saturday get together in Salt Lake on July 9th. And the next Zoom we have Dr. Samuelson live that I'm aware of is on Tuesday evening, and it's Robin West Family Style Testimony Call this coming Tuesday. The following Tuesday, we have Rik Deitsch, and he's going to focus on the Z-Immunity zeolite combined with medicinal mushroom products. So I wanted this to be something that could be a recording, and I hope if you're watching this now, you've seen something, heard something this evening that makes you feel like, that's me, I can do that. You heard each of them tell their story, Dr. Samuelson, about becoming an atomic medical physicist, and he said, that's me, I can do that. And look what's happened, the power of that decision, the power of a decision. And that little boy watching his mom duke it out with a doc and get rescued by the biochemist, Rik Deitsch, and he looked at them and said, that's me, I can do that. I hope many of you are having that moment right now. If you're listening to the recording, I hope that you're having that moment right now too. We do need lots of people. We need everyone to be at their best. If you're hurting tonight, you can come here and we'll patch you up. If you come in and you can't make it through the draft board because you're 4F, that's what we're used to. You can come to us all beat up, we'll patch you up, and when you're 1A, we'll go ahead and build number 1 Avini. That's what we're about here tonight. And I do thank everybody for joining us, and I believe that has completed our call for this evening. Thank you everybody for being with us.